just about a few weeks ago, I had an interview with a developer. On paper, she seemed really great. 8 years of Magento experience, quite clean code samples, and rather interesting portfolio. The interview was going quite well. Yet towards the end, she said something that stuck by with me. She said, I should mention that I only do front-end development. I don't do back-end. So as a follow-up question, I asked her how a tool like AI could help her with the back-end tasks. That's where she struggles a bit. And she said, I'm a front-end specialist. That's what I do. That's my lane. So essentially, she is making a bet that the market will always reward a narrow specialization, that there will always be jobs for people who have drawn line around their skills and won't cross it. But I don't think she's going to win that bet, and it's not just a hunch. It's part of a larger pattern from one I see where I spend my days. So my name is Raimonds, and for the past 10 years I've been in the Magento trenches with you. So I started my career at MageBit as a junior developer, and along the way I moved up to senior roles. I built dozens of stores, led migrations, and worked on smaller and bigger infrastructures. And probably as most of you, I've been also on the other side of the table, hiring, years of it, hundreds of applications and hundreds of technical interviews. And when this past year I started asking questions about AI, the pattern was really hard to ignore. What I noticed is that maybe 1 in 20 candidates can actually use AI effectively. So if only 1 in 20 can use it effectively, what's happening with the other 19? And in my interviews, I see them kind of fall into 2 groups, or at least the names I have given them is the ghost and the vending machine. And the ghost is a candidate who is haunted by the idea that using AI is cheating. They are given this lifeline, a tool to help them, yet they refuse to use it. They'll struggle in silence on things that could have helped, like AI could have helped them in minutes, and when I gently nudge them to feel free to use any tool you like, even AI, they usually say that, no, I should know this. And when after the interview I ask them about this, the responses are always the same. They either blame it on the stress, or they even mention that in other interviews it's not even allowed to be used. So they just assume that it's a trap. They have this kind of mindset or thinking that the interviews are still just a test of pure memorization instead of problem solving. So a ghost is having this kind of a problem that they feel that AI is a judge of their knowledge instead of a tool in their toolbox. And the second pattern that I usually notice in my interviews is the vending machine. So this candidate isn't afraid of AI, but they have no idea how to use it effectively. They actually treat it like a vending machine, so they would put in low-effort coin, beat error message, and expect a perfect snack or a solution to pop right out. They usually literally just copy-paste the error message without any context or a goal on what they are trying to achieve, their stack or what even they have tried so far. And as generic their prompt was, as generic and useless answer they usually get back. And once it doesn't work out, then they are even afraid to continue using AI until the end of the interview. And what's missing here is the ability to critically validate the output or even guide the process. They don't know why a solution works or why it doesn't, so they get completely lost. And for the merchants in this room, it isn't just a technical problem, it has a tangible business cost. So every hour a developer, a ghost, spends on a problem that AI could have helped solve in minutes, that's your budget being burned on inefficiency. And when a vending machine gets a bad suggestion and goes down a rabbit hole, it's not just a delay, it's innovation tax. It's a buggy feature that has to be fixed later. It's your competitor launching a brand new feature while your team is still stuck trying to solve the wrong problems. And that's exactly why that 1 in 20 is so valuable. And that brings me to that 1 in 20, the rare gem, or as I kind of call it, the co-pilot. So this candidate isn't afraid of using the AI. They not only use it, they direct it. They have a system in place of how to collaborate with it. And it's quite simple, 3-step system, I would say. So they brief it like any human teammate. So they kind of inform up front of what they're doing. For example, I'm building a Magento feature. I'm trying to do X. I'm getting error Y. My setup consists of Z, and so on. Also, they don't just kind of look for the answer. They inquire. They ask if the solution that they're getting back is the most performant way how to do it. Are there any security issues, and so on. And third, they always verify the output they get from the knowledge they already have. They are always the pilot in charge. And the difference here is the mindset of how they approach in comparison to other kind of patterns is, that they are not just looking for answers, they are trying to accelerate their problem solving, their whole workflow and process, how they work. And this mindset or process doesn't just happen overnight. It takes some time. Kind of get used to it. And I'll run briefly through how my own experience got me here, or working or integrating the AI in my own workflow. So it was more than a year ago. I had my one tool that I was comfortable using for the past decade, PHP Storm. I knew it inside and out. And then came the push from our CEO to try a brand new, not really brand new, but something new, a new editor that was AI native called Cursor. And at first I struggled. It felt really inefficient. I was trying to juggle my old habits of using my old tool and then at sometimes the new tool, but that whole process was a bit inefficient. And as much as I didn't like this new editor, Cursor, at the time it had the greatest AI features integrated directly in the editor, so there was really no other option as to trying to adapt and use this. Nothing better was on the market, especially with the PHP Storm that I was using till then. And few months passed by, and I was at the point where I'm changing my tools again. And this time it was Cloud Code. So if Cursor is more like an editor with AI chat on the sidebar, as many tools have, Cloud Code is more, I would say, for power users directly in the terminal. But when I was switching the tools again, this time it was painless, easy to switch and ready to work. So the realization along the way was that over those months, I didn't just learn how to use Cursor, I learned how to collaborate with AI effectively. So once I had to switch tools again, it was just really easy. And another lesson learned along the way was that initially when I started using the cursor or just AI in general, I had an assumption that AI is going to make us straight away faster, but it didn't turn out that way. So AI was more like a magnifying glass on our entire workflow, and especially in our code bases. The first project where I had tried this AI code editor was a bit older legacy internal application code base, where a lot of developers had spent their time and had their own way of doing things. And yes, when I applied AI and helped try to kind of work on new features, these features or the results were kind of a bit creative because of that. Each developer was doing their own thing. So that led to kind of a realization that AI doesn't just magically fix things for us. So if we already have a chaos in our code base and we apply AI to it, it will give us back the same chaos, just dressed up to look like a nice solution. So the kind of advice is to always try to get your house in order first. It's really not an amazing advice, but it's one that may be the difference between success and disaster. And after all this work and adaptation, going back to the hope that AI is going to make us faster, at the end it didn't turn out to be true. So I don't code faster using AI, but what I noticed is that the bottleneck shifted in my work. So before AI, the bottleneck was mostly typing. Most of developer time is spent on actually implementing the features, typing it out, or debugging. Yet after implementing AI in your workflow, the biggest bottleneck becomes the thinking, planning, documenting, considering all the edge cases. Not that it wasn't like a priority before, but since AI can generate code in seconds, you're left with more time focusing on the things that actually matter for clients to so that their business succeeds. So yeah, the coding part became cheap, and it was cheap because as I'm not writing it, I don't have the same emotional attachment to it anymore. If along the way the plan changes or I come up with a better solution, AI can just replace it in seconds, so it's just a part of iteration. So the change of, cost of change plummets significantly. And using AI isn't just meant for experienced developers. So your experience kind of determines just the way how you approach, the way how you work with AI. And I don't want to really call them the roles or job positions, but the graph kind of explains your approach and how you would work with the AI. So as an experienced developer, your bottleneck will mostly be the planning part. So you kind of become this validator. And for the developer that's still learning, you still have the gap, the knowledge. So you become the inquisitor. For the validator, the bottleneck completely shifts from the coding that I has already mentioned to planning. So as in the validator role, you don't really ask for questions on how do I implement this, but is this truly scalable? Is this really a great idea or just looks like one? Does this solve the business problem that we are facing or just the ticket? And as a validator, you use your hard-won experience to to actually validate the output. And for the Inquisitor role, for the developers that are still learning, but actually it's not just for the developers, it can be for everyone, anyone that's still learning, even a senior developer learning a new language, or a project manager who is trying to understand some technical problem. For this role, the bottleneck is still understanding the fundamentals. So AI is the best tool there currently is to accelerate this learning process if used correctly. And this process could be classified as this three-step framework, asking for options, pitfalls, and explanations. So yeah, asking for options. So you don't just ask for the solution. You could always prompt like, show me 3 different ways on how to achieve this, and list cons and pros of each of the solutions. So you straight away see that there's really just one way on how to do things. And asking for pitfalls, once you have the approach clear on how you're going to do it, you can prompt for like, what are the most common mistakes a developer makes when implementing this? So you turn AI into a code reviewer, so you even get a code review before you have implemented your feature. And the third, you ask for explanations. You never accept the code that was generated that you don't understand. You can prompt it like, explain this line by line to me, or even explain this to me like I'm a project manager who doesn't code. So, and yeah, that brings me back to the interview I had with the developer some time ago that had drew a line around their skills and didn't want to cross it. But this shift from typing to thinking is already happening, so you can't really avoid it. You can either adapt and move along or just get left behind. And for developers, that means it's not some 10x engineer meet. It's as simple as elevating your work. So you focus less on code typing and more on architecting. AI handles the trivial parts as code generation for you, so your time can be spent more on things that actually require your experience and creativity. And for the merchants, this changes the conversation you have with your team fundamentally. You don't just get updates back on the tickets, you have a strategic partner, the team that has freed up their mental bandwidth to think about business problems and solutions more deeply than just that was written in the original specification. As the most powerful teams of the next decade won't be the ones with the fanciest AI, they will be the teams that have mastered this art of human-AI collaboration. So, yeah, this doesn't mean that you have to become an AI expert overnight, but you can take the steps today while it's still being optional. So, yeah, thank you.